Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Scenic Route Podcast. We're talking with my BFF from the 70s and 80s, the Reverend Dr. Reginald Hicks. He was talking about his story and how he was incarcerated for a time. He was incarcerated, but his mind was free. And God finally allowed him to get out, which is crazy because when I'm teaching every year, when I start talking about the funnel of crime, how the criminal justice system is like a funnel, is easy to get in, but very hard to get out. I would always tell a story about my friend, and I would always get emotional, when I tell a story about Reggie. And about 2 years before you got out, I was telling the story and talking about how we met at school, and you was like, "Hey, I'm playing for your daddy team," and I was like, "Yeah. What's your name?" And he told me your name was Reggie, and I was like, "Okay." And then me and Jay became friends, and I told him, I was like, "Man, I miss my friend." And class was over with. The bell rung. It was this kid from New Orleans, man. He was always a bad actor. He came up to me, he said, "Mr. York, you really miss your friend?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, I do. I miss my friend." He was like, "Don't worry, Mr. York. He might get out one day." No, I know he gonna get out one day, Mr. York. And that kid left, and that was at third period. And fourth period, I'm off. I just went to my desk, I put my head down, man, and I started crying. I was just like reflecting on it, I was like, man, what is this kid talking about? You know what I mean? And so when you let me know that you was out, it was like that kid was right. And to right now today, he's not the same kid anymore. He's a US Marine. He's a father. And if you would tell people at that school that this kid is the type of young man that he is today, they wouldn't believe it. So your life has been a testimony for people and an inspiration to people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
Because of the bond that we had. And I let them know that when a person goes away, I think everybody is a part of that.
Yeah.
Your whole family,
Yeah.
your whole life, goes away with that person. I don't know firsthand information, and I'll never claim to know anything about that, but it's so deep that the bond that we had, when people would ask me, "Who is your best friend?" I would say Reggie Hicks. You know what I mean? And it was like, he's gone, but he's not really gone. You know what I mean? Yeah. So for years, and I went into therapy a few years ago, briefly, after the loss of my baby brother. And I thought that was one of the greatest losses that I had in my life. And after talking with this counselor, she was like, "You have another, I feel like there's another loss that you had." And it was like, I really didn't know how much it affected me because we were there. We went to elementary school together. We went to middle school together. We went to high school together.
Yeah.
And for that person that is your person to be missing from your life, that is so, so, so traumatic.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? And when you came home and we met that day, it was at Brothers Pizza.
Yeah.
Brothers Pizza. And as I'm driving home, it's like this flood of emotions came over me. And my first prayer was, "God, I know you got it. I know you got it."
Yeah.
And to see what you are doing right now should be an inspiration to a lot of people who have no excuse not to accomplish the things in life that are available to you as a free man, as a free person, as a person that's saved, as a person that God has his hands on, because truly you had to redefine who you were as a human being first,
Yeah.
as a man of God, as a husband, as a father, and just finding a way to support yourself. You know what I'm saying? So let's
Right.
talk about chapter 2. That was chapter 1. This is chapter 2.
Mm,
Let's talk
got it.
about chapter 2, Reggie. This is the part that I like.
So, man, coming out. So before I even went inside, of course, I was raised to work. So I had a work ethic and I continued to work. Of course, we worked for free on the inside. And so coming out, I wanted to get a job. Of course, I'm married. I don't know how to be a husband. And so, that childlike faith is how I live every single day. Uh, the joy of the Lord is my strength. That's more than a scripture. I could quote it, but that's more than a scripture because every single day I wake up, I choose joy because uh, I understand where God has brought me from. Kind of like I don't want to forget. Like I have a lot of people say, "Man, you don't need to be talking about that, man. That's in your past, man. Forget all." No, I don't want to forget. I never want to forget. And so anyway, so I got out. I worked Uber Eats. I worked DoorDash. I worked for minimum wage. Man, I've had some jobs that cheated me out of wages. I worked for a tree company where he didn't tell me, but he told one of the other guys that, man, it don't matter how bad I do him, no matter how dirty I do him, he still talked to me white with respect. And instead of allowing that to change who I was, it just made me want to push hard. And so finally, I was hired on to at a warehouse, just a regular job, and I in 6 months I was promoted to warehouse manager, and I got to meet the owner. And the owner was like, I never hired anybody that's been incarcerated before, and his way of looking at things were always like, you go, you do every single day they tell you to do. You eat bread, drink water, just enough to exist. He doesn't even have a faith. But my integrity in my job caused him to be drawn to me. And now, man, it's just crazy. It's really cool. But even better than that, I didn't want to stop there. I work hard every day. I got a good job, thank you, Lord. But I also started my own business almost 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a mobile axe throwing company. We do corporate events, we do weddings, we do birthdays, we do church events, we do men events, team building things. And I know a lot of African American people say in the culture, black people don't throw axes. Let me tell you something. That's not true. Black people may have not thrown axes yet. But anyway, and so God has been really faithful to me. My wife and I, we had a very successful first year. Uh, and so to celebrate our 1 year in business, I asked her, what do we do? How do we celebrate? And so we doubled down. And so we built more trailers and trained axe throwing coaches to help run the business. And it's funny, and I have to go back here, Amos. I remember one day I was sitting behind the glass in a prison cell, and my wife, I mean, she has two associate degree, a bachelor's, a master's degree. She works at a very powerful place, and she has a really good job. Well, I say work at a powerful place. Let me correct that. She works from home, but she makes really good money. Let me say that. I'm a little jealous. I'm just keeping it real. But anyway, so I remember looking at my wife one day and said, baby, I'm going to take care of you one day. I'm going to make more money than you. And I never forget, she looked at me so sad, like, you got an X on your back. I mean, all of the things, the myths, the stereotypes that everybody out here have for a person that's incarcerated. You might be okay and you might be able to pay the bills, but it's only so much that you can do.
Right.
Well, anyway, so it was funny. After the first year in business, I looked at my wife and say, "How you like me now?" So it's been profitable for me. It's been profitable for me, and and so now I get to take care of my wife. She get to save. She get the budget. I'm sorry. She get to do so many things. For 13 years on the inside, she took care of me, and so now I get to take care of her. After the let's see, first year, we were able to buy some land and we built us a home. And so we have the business. I run the warehouse. I go in at 5 in the morning. I'm home by noon, and I just get to pour into my business. But my greatest passion has been prison ministry. Yeah, and so I get to go into prisons and bring the same hope that so many people brought me. It's awesome to go back. I think one of my most guilty feelings ever is like I'm riding down 59, the sunrise is coming up, and I just weep. I start crying because I remember all the men that I left behind, men that's smarter than me, men that are more ambitious than I am, men that love their wives and their children just like I do, men that every single day praying for a second opportunity and a chance. And sometimes I have to really have self-talk because I be like, why me, God? Why out of all the 185,000 men in prison in Texas alone, over 2 million people incarcerated in the United States. Why me? And so some days I have to deal with that, but I'm grateful, and I don't want to waste my opportunity. I don't want to become a part of the recidivism rate. Back in 1990, when I went in prison, the recidivism rate said that 67% out of the men that get out of prison within 3 years, they're back in.
Mm-hmm.
That was the recidivism rate. And so you fed these stats and these data and these numbers, and you think 7 out of 10 people go back, right?
Correct.
But I'm so proud to say that through prison ministry and so many different opportunities that men in Texas prison have now, the recidivism rate nationally is still 60%, but Texas prison, the recidivism rate is down to 28%. And so I think one of the greatest revivals, the greatest transformations are happening in the inside of prison. And that means a lot to me. So a lot of people probably watching this program probably saying, well, what does that have to do with me? Because the reality is 72% of men that go to the prison are coming to a neighborhood near you.
Right. Yeah.
That should matter to you. You should want them coming out healthy and whole. You should want some transformation to happen in their life, because we have daughters and granddaughters and wives and mothers who are going to store, going to school in this world out here, that we want people to be healthy and whole.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because I did quite a bit of research on
Mm-hmm.
recidivism and retention rates, the rate in which people return to prison.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of my theory is men's total well-being, the
Mm-hmm.
total health of men. We don't talk enough.
Yeah.
We don't talk to each other enough. Mm-hmm. A woman could have a problem, and she's got 13 numbers in her phone of women who she can call and
Mm-hmm.
get support from, and they'll point her in the right direction.
Right.
Men, we've got one or two numbers that we can call and maybe get a correct answer to which direction to go in out of one of those two phone calls. We don't talk enough. We don't express our feelings enough.
Yeah.
We don't talk about the things that bother us enough. And it sometimes causes us to make a split second decision that will tear down years of what we work for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Without a
And
doubt.
in support systems as well. There are so many women groups. I'm not putting that down. I'm just saying there are so many resources for women to talk about their mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, all of these things, but we don't really have forums or venues or resources for men to be vulnerable. to
And
say I'm having a tough time dealing with this.
I
You know
think
what I
it's
mean, Terrence?
I think it's been part of our culture when men do reach out for answers and seek answers. We've always kind of been told to man up, but
Right,
that's not even clearly defining what manning up really is. You know what I mean? At some point, you have to have an avenue to talk and express like what you're going through. Like we started this entire conversation off in part one talking about failure. Failure is what led Reggie to what he experienced in terms of being incarcerated. Because for the first time in his life, he failed, and how different life could have been if we were there to say, "Hey, you didn't fail. You just weren't prepared for the 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 show, and this is what we need to do in order to get you prepared for the next level in life." And so I think as men, we have a responsibility to sow into the lives of younger men and men that are going through things. And sometimes it's not about what we say. It's about listening and trying to determine, okay, what is it that we can do as a man to help this young brother get to the next level.
right,
Right. And I agree. And so what you said was powerful. But guess what? Nobody knew how I felt. Nobody really knew that I had even experienced failure. I
right,
wasn't telling nobody.
right.
So if you wasn't in the know, you didn't
You didn't
know.
know.
Right.
Right? And so, like Amy said, we have to find a way to start talking. I think the biggest thing is we have to give people grace to grow. Like,
Yeah.
I'll give you a great example. Why is it so many of our powerful leaders in the Christian community self-destructing? I'll tell you why. So I'll give a good example. I have a mega church and I have 50,000 members. I'm struggling with pornography. Can I come out in my congregation and say, hey, pray for me? I'm struggling with pornography. Of course not.
No.
Right,
Bills to pay. And
right,
all these faithful tithers, some of them finna run over there to Brother Rick church. Because Brother Rick chose to hide what he's struggling with, and I
right,
chose to share it. And so a lot of us, instead of giving people grace to grow, we tie a noose around their neck, just like they done in the old Jim Crow days. Our own people that look like us, that are just like us, we'll tie a noose around their neck and we'll suffocate them.
right,
It's okay if you're struggling with what I struggle with. But if you're struggling with pornography, or if you're struggling with pedophilia, if you're struggling with something that's, oh my God, kill him, put a rope on him, you're going, well, oh no, don't let him in here. And so a lot of people will suffer in silence.
Hmm.
And they'll try to deal with it from the inside. And like you said, one bad moment, one act of acting out or rebellion or whatever you want to call it can be costly, but it don't take but one mistake. It don't take but one bad choice, you know.
And that's crazy because my dad is always, he instilled in me, he says, man, you only have to be wrong one time.
that's
That's
it.
it.
And your one time may be different than my one time, but he says, you really only have to mess up one time and it could cost you the rest of your life. And that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was like a driving factor to me, man. 'Cause I know earlier you guys were talking about like the Northeast community and some of the things that we experience, and your experience that y'all dealt with is totally different from what I dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
Same community.
Right,
There was a 2 year span,
Mm-hmm.
right? From 85 to 87 that I didn't have to deal I didn't have to it didn't touch me like
right,
it touched y'all. Same people, same community.
right.
And it's just amazing how you guys were able to weather that storm, go through everything that we went through, and then come out on the other side more blessed than we were.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's true from the standpoint of I always tell people that my dad had two sets of children. And I don't mean that negatively. I mean like compared to what me and D had to go through the ritual of manhood,
Yeah.
you guys should have been like the Huxtables, you know, when y'all graduated Forest Brook.
Yeah.
I can just go down my street and tell you that one guy sold dope, another guy got shot in the face, another guy died of AIDS, two more guys went to prison, uh, and the guy who lived on the street next to us did federal drug charges. That's just a street and a half.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A street and a half. You had to make decisions. You had to make choices. And I cannot sit here and tell you all of my choices were good. All of my choices were lawful choices.
Right.
The only difference is I never got caught. My dad never got a phone call saying,
Right.
"Come get this guy." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm so thankful that that time in my life was brief and that I learned from some of the things that people around me got themselves caught up in. And I just feel fortunate. And a lot of times I have survivor's remorse that
Right.
nothing tragic did happen to me. You
Right.
know what I mean? I can
Right.
remember at 21 sitting there thinking, oh my God, I made it to 21.
Hmm.
Oh wow.
I mean, it was like that. It was like that for me. And when I left Scenic Woods and went to a college, it was just like so many opportunities to take a path that I could never come back from.
Right.
And my type of personality was I chose to be with people that were like minded, but those people had friends. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you go to a party, you with somebody that you can trust, but they're with some people that they can't trust. So by proxy, I ended up in some weird situations a lot of times. But it was God's grace that got me through and be in a position to whereas I could drag my brother with me, my baby brother with me. And it
Mm.
was literally a drag. You know what I'm saying? It was like I care too much about you for
Right.
this to be your life. You know, this something has got to happen. Something has got to change. I remember the day he applied for the sheriff's department, I got in his car that morning and it smelled like weed, right?
Mm-hmm.
I closed his door because my car wouldn't start. I closed his door, went upstairs in the house, dragged him out of bed, threw him on the floor, and was like, get up, take a shower, get dressed. You're going to apply for this job.
Go.
And that
Oh,
is,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's how it was. That was the relationship. But what I went through in 89, by the time he came out in 91, it was different than what we experienced, Rich.
Right.
You know, so it's a matter of fortune. It's a matter of God's hand upon your life. And it's about finding that route that'll allow you to grow into the man that you want to become
Yeah.
instead of staying in that boy like stage, if that makes sense.
Without a doubt. Yeah. And you said something powerful earlier. You was talking about choices and how they affect other people around us. It was a Bridges to Life class that I learned more about accountability and responsibility than I learned anywhere. And I had to understand that my choice. We could say stuff. We could be tough, or we could get on these podcasts and say I'm doing my time for what I've done and blah blah blah. We could say all
Mhm.
that. That's all fine and dandy. But excuse me, I watched my mother and my father literally become old, become tired, uh, trying to continue to be a parent, continue to work and live their life, but they had a son that was incarcerated. And so that took a toll.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom had a stroke 10 years before I was released. Well, when I finally made parole and was coming home, my mom was just tired. And here she was, less than 30 days before I was released, my mom passed away in transition. And so that was really tough for me, knowing that my choice so affected my mother,
Right.
so affected my father. I have a 36-year-old son now who our relationship, we speak, we talk, but it's not what it should be as a father and son because of the choice that I made. You tell a 2-year-old kid that his father just made a bad choice, a bad decision. He loved you. He didn't leave you. He didn't abandon you. You could say that only for so long.
Right.
And by the time he was 11 and 12, he was like, my dad ain't here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so our choices do affect people. And so you could look at it a negative way, but I think, it fuels me. So like it gives me fuel. So when I make choices, I have to remember and understand that the choice I'm making is going to affect my wife and my children, and it's going to affect my church or the people that do ministry with me. Or it's going to affect the people that believe in me, who pouring into me and invested in me. And so I have to keep that in mind. But I think as men we're getting better, but we have a long way to go. Women got to figure it out. We don't.
We don't.
We don't talk. We don't want nobody. We don't want to take that Superman cape off. We don't want nobody to know where we fail, our shortcomings. We don't want nobody to know what's our kryptonite because we're afraid that they'll use it against us. They'll say it against us. They'll get mad and tell us what a piece of crap we are.
Right.
And so we hide, just like Adam. It's no different. We hide.
We really need to put together a forum for black men to come together and to sow into each other and give them an avenue to talk about what ails them, because there is a greater need for young men to talk about some of the adversity that they go through. A lot of the drug use and alcoholism, those are just forms of masking of what they're really going through. And we got to figure out a way. I think we have to be that generation to figure out a way how we're going to tap into those feelings so that we can connect with them. Because this generation, that if we're able to save this generation and be able to minister to this generation, they're going to be powerful because they have the will to win, and they gonna either do it by the world standards or by God's standards. And we have to. And you mentioned it in part one about your foundation. Your foundation was the one thing that kept you when you were faced with adversity. And so we have to learn. We're gonna have to teach them how to build that foundation from an old structure, so that they can have the will to win the right
And
way.
that's so powerful, man. And this message has been so powerful. Just talking to you guys is, I mean, it's therapeutic. Once again, it's therapeutic to express what's been going on. I'm so inspired by the things that you said here today and the things that we've discussed. And I want to know, what's the next chapter, what's the next step in your life before we wrap up our show tonight, and let us know, how we can support you and support your ministry and the things that you're doing right now.
Okay, so my wife and I, we started a 501c3 prison ministry, and we go into prisons. Of course, we do a lot of marriage seminars because we strongly believe in family. And so the men that's incarcerated, we get an opportunity. Like Saturday, we'll be going to the Memorial Unit or the Darrington Unit. We have 40 guys in white. We will bring their wives in. We will give them breakfast. We will give them lunch. We will have sessions to pour into them, pour into their marriages, pour into their families. We'll have real talk. We'll take the men, separate them from their wives, and the women, separate them from their husbands. And we'll deal with some of the things that they have to deal with through incarceration. We also do what we call Day with Dads, where we go into the prison to the men in white and we bring the children in, and they get to spend 7 or 8 hours with the children, playing games, eating with them. We were able to bring the cornhole boards out, throw the football around on the rec yard with their kids. Again, we believe in family, but we also work on this side where men are reintegrating back into society. In September, we'll be doing our 3rd year. We do a marriage retreat for men that were formerly incarcerated and their wives. We have 8 couples. We rent a nice Airbnb. We go on the beach for 4 days, and it's really, really nice. We have a couple who volunteer their time to cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner for us. And we bring facilitators in to pour into our marriages. We do 2 sessions a day. Each night we do date night, but we just really, really believe in family, so we do that. And my wife is currently inspiring me and encouraging me to finish my book. I have a book that I'm almost complete with that I'd really, really like to complete. The monetary success is not most important to me. I just want to be able to share my story, give God glory, and hopefully it will impact some people. And my audience is not just gone to men that were in white or incarcerated, but it's families families affected by incarceration,
Right.
volunteers, people who are leaders. And I just want to share my story and get it into the hands of people. So the 501c3 is important to me. The prison ministry, of course, the reintegration of families coming out. And yeah, man. So this is what we do. This is what we love. I get an opportunity to go to churches. I've been partnered with missionaries and different pastors to make that happen, who pour into our ministry. A weekend for a marriage seminar, like a 3-day marriage seminar that we do, is costly. It's about $10,000 to do it for the families. But we're just believing in God and having faith. And so if somebody would like to pour into that, to partner with us, we don't call it donations. We call it partnering with us. Everybody don't want to go into prison. Everybody don't want to do what I do.
Right.
But every time you send $1, $5, $2, and you pour into the ministry, you're partnering with us to reconcile families and restore relationships. Because the reality, and I'll close with this, the reality is this: if a man is incarcerated and he have a support network when he come out, his are the chances of him reoffending or becoming a part of the recidivism rate is almost non-existent.
Very good.
A man who come out, get a job, get married, and have 1 child is almost 16% chance of him ever going back. And so those are the odds that we like. And so we want to keep people connected with their family, that support network, when they come out to have something. Think about this, Amos. Think about this, Terrence. Whether you do 5 years or 30 years in prison, when you get out, you get $50. And then when you go see parole, you get another $50. So you have a whopping $100 to restart your life with.
Jeez.
Think about that.
It's wild.
Think about that. And so we're doing whatever we can to help men make that transition and get going again, believe again, to be encouraged again. And it's happening, man.
I thought I knew everything, but I know nothing. I know nothing, man. I mean, man, kudos to you. Hats off to you. Thank you for sharing with us. Hopefully this helps somebody seeing this podcast, see the scenic route that you took to the place where you are now. And if I know you, I know you're not satisfied with just being right here. You want to go even higher.
Let's go.
You've always had that drive and determination. And I appreciate that so much, man. It's a blessing. I love you. You'll always be a friend of mine. You will always be my best friend from Rogers Elementary.
Rogers Elementary.
Yes, sir. W.E. Rogers Elementary.
Mm.
The Road Runners.
Road Runners.
The
Road
Longfield
Runner.
Lumberjacks.
They closed our school down.
Yeah,
They
man.
leveled that school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But we can talk about that all day, man. Scenic Woods looks so different now, man. They got roads going, homes behind Rogers right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild every time I drive through there. But every time I hit that Sterling shot, I slow down to where that brown and yellow house was, man. And I just weep like a little baby. I
Mm.
miss it because it was so instrumental, in our development. I just remember the days in the summer, me and you. We did something that was so crazy. You would walk me home, and then I would walk you halfway home.
Hey, big y'all, before we leave, shout out, man, to Forest Brook High School, class of 1989.
89.
Next month, we'll be celebrating 35 years.
35 years.
Wow.
Let's go.
35 years.
35 years, man.
35 years. We're going to celebrate in style, too.
Yeah.
Terrence, anything you want to add before we close?
Oh man, I was just, one of the things I do want to talk about. We started this whole entire conversation talking about that. Next year will be the 45th year anniversary of the Little League, man, and
45.
we need to do something.
Yes.
To remind these folks of who we were back in the day.
Yeah.
And so
it needs to be a documentary.
we got some time to work on this.
45 years.
45 years.
We have some time to work on it, man, and it's really just a matter of reaching out to those brothers from our past and bringing them back all to the table.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, man, we all took different routes to get to where we were. Some of us, took the scenic route to get there, but we're all getting there. We're all getting there. We got to figure out a way to connect these brothers once again,
Right.
and walk those hallowed grounds of Smoky Jasper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think that would be completely awesome. All right, fellas. Well, appreciate you. Thank you for being on our show. Until next time, peace out to you. Thank y'all for joining us on the Scenic Route.
Thanks, man. Thanks for
Thank you.
having me, man.
All right.